Greetings, everybody. Welcome, Prop Tarts, to the chat. It's Prop Live. It's your weekly prop and costume making Q&A session, and I'm Bill from Punish Props. And this week we have a guest, slightly different type of guest than when we usually have on, but no less awesome. We have Zach Fischer of Zach Fischer Illustration fame with us today. Hello, Zach.
Hello. How's everyone doing?
I think everyone's doing pretty great. The chat's looking lively as always. Ready to hang out. They've got a bunch of questions. If you guys are watching live and you want to send a question, go to punishprops.com/live. There's a form there where you can send a question. If you have any questions, especially for Zach about designing costumes, about illustration, designing props for costumes, or just props in general, go on over there, submit your question, and we will answer it later on in the show. But Zach, how you doing, man? You're working on something cool, apparently.
I am working on a bunch of stuff that's cool. Unfortunately, I can't really talk about a lot of it, just because it's all under like NDA stuff. It kind of sucks that way. Like, I'm sure you end up like getting like requests to do all this cool stuff, and then everyone's like, "Well, you can't tell anybody about it." I'm like, "Damn it, it's so cool!" But
yeah, I mailed something off last week that I'm really excited about, a cool project, but I can't say anything about it. Not yet, anyway, but soon.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, with everything coming up this summer, and, like, BlizzCon down the road, and, like, San Diego, everybody's kind of getting their costume stuff together now, so, like, I'm putting all these designs out that probably won't be seen for another month or so, at least.
But then all at once.
Like, yeah, and then all at once. Like, you'll see, like, 9 things and be like, oh, that's where he was all that time.
Very, very cool. So, of course I don't have my web browser thing open. Let me open it up here so people know where to go to check out a bunch of the stuff that you've been working on. You've been doing stuff through Patreon, which I think is really cool.
Yes, it's been very, very helpful.
Very good way for people to keep up to date with what you've been working on and help you out if they are so inclined.
Yes.
Which I am so inclined. There we go.
I'm trying to do more. With the Patreon. It's it can be tough when I'm working on stuff. Like I said, it's all kind of secretive because I can't even show it there. But what I'm trying to do is keep track and like document my work process as I work on this stuff, so that once I can release it, I can show the people at Patreon stuff that I won't post anywhere else.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. That's one of the reasons why I like supporting my friends over there on Patreon is when they show off cool stuff, like behind the scenes stuff.
You always have really cool stuff posted too, so like I'm always excited to see what you put up. So.
Oh yeah. We use it. We especially like using it as a way to make sure that the people who are really interested in our stuff are kept up to date on all the new content we put out.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys just look up Zach Fischer, that's Fischer on Patreon, you'll find him over there. Also on Facebook as well, for all the cool stuff. In fact, you've got some cool stuff. One of the things I like in particular is you have a bunch of designs that you've done that are open for like fair use or fair game, I guess.
Pretty much all of my designs end up there.
Yeah.
Actually.
So if those of you watching haven't checked it out yet, head on over to Zach Fischer Illustration on Facebook and just go through the folder titled, what's it called?
Open to all, I think.
Yeah, open to all. Just flip through there. Just flip through if you're looking for something cool to make. Just take a peek at some of that stuff. You said you had, what was the one you wanted to do? Someone to do the Captain America? No, Captain Planet.
Captain Planet.
Let me find that.
I did a Captain Planet, and like nobody.
There you go.
Nobody's shown it any love yet.
So there's a challenge out there for anyone in our chat. If you guys are looking for something really cool, a fun challenge, something Zach came up with, there's a really cool looking Captain Planet.
It was just a weird idea. It was like I sketched it out in like an hour and a half. I was just sitting at Starbucks. I'm like, I'm gonna do this thing because it's in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? This would be really neat to see. And I think I was looking at a lot of stuff from God Save the Queen fashions.
Yeah.
All the crazy leatherworking that they do over there. And I was just kind of inspired by that. So I ended up designing something that like kind of mimicked that style, but it's Captain Planet. What do you want?
It's Captain Planet. That's freaking sweet. I mean, you and I were talking a couple weeks ago about fun, cool, like 80s or 90s comic book or cartoon mashups.
Oh yeah,
it's fertile ground right there for some really fun stuff.
It's my jam right there.
Yeah. So what I want to know, as briefly as possible, because I'm sure it's a long tale, how you kind of ended up in this area where you're kind of designing costumes or like mashed up costumes for other people. How did that happen? I'm sure you did. What did you do? How did you go to school? That's a question I get about prop making. What classes did you take?
I mean, I went to art school. I graduated from Cleveland Institute of Art, and they didn't have a game design program active at that school at the time. I think they do now. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to do stuff that was going to eventually get me into concept art, whether it be for films or for games. And so I kind of dropped into the wrong major because all the professors were like trying to tell me, oh, no, this is where you want to be. You want to do video game stuff? Yeah, you want to be over here with the same people that are doing web design and audio and video. I'm like, yeah, that's not really the same thing what I'm trying to do. But I ended up there instead of illustration, which is kind of a bummer. But ultimately, like, I did a little bit of game design stuff and concept art for a small startup company right out of school. The game never ended up getting made because it just kind of ran out of funding, as a lot of smaller titles tend to do. But I did a brief foray into comics work, and I was doing little illustrations once a week. I used to call it Sketchy Sundays, where I would take the first request that came onto my Facebook page for a character somebody wanted me to draw, and then I would draw it. And if they wanted to purchase it from me after it was done, I gave them, it was like $20. You could get a marker sketch from.
Oh, sweet.
And because it was just like it was an extra $80 or so a month or whatever, just put in my pocket, whatever. And eventually somebody came up with this idea where they're like, hey, can you draw me a battle armored version of Elsa from Frozen? And I'm like, yes I can. It just appealed to like the concept artist in me, and I spent a little bit more time on that one than I did with any of the other ones.
Yeah.
And it just, for whatever reason, the right people saw it. And like Svetlana Kamui Cosplay, she saw it. And she contacted me and she was like, hey, I have this idea for a female Malthael. Would you do this? And I guess it's just like through word of mouth, just people started seeing stuff I was doing. Lightning Cosplay did the Valkyrie that I redesigned, the Marvel's Valkyrie that I redesigned. And that's been made like 8 or 9 times by now. People have crafted it. I've actually kind of lost track. And it just kind of spiraled from there, and it got to the point where now I've always had friends who were cosplayers and in the cosplay community because it was something I was really interested in. So suddenly I had friends turning to me and saying, hey, would you mind doing a redesign of this character? Or would you, mind doing something like this? And I'm like, yeah, why not?
That's the right. You know what? That's what got me into this whole mess. Me saying, yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? And then soon enough, I had enough people demanding work that I was like, I could try to do this as like the main source of what I do. And, I saw it as a way of bolstering my design portfolio so that I can put it out there in terms of like trying to get into a gaming studio or, doing character skins or concept art for a game. But at the same time, like, it's just fun to do. It's just fun to work with cosplayers and prop makers and reimagine characters that, haven't had much love in a while, like Captain Planet or,
Captain Planet's due for a comeback.
There's so many in my head that I want to do. It's just like, I wish I had the time. All those 80s and 90s cartoons.
Yeah. There's got to be interesting, too, as a concept artist doing redesigns like that. It's got to flex some new muscles, too. I imagine there's got to be a bit of a different type of challenge to that than just doing what I do, which is recreating a video game character completely as accurately as possible.
No, I would agree with that. It certainly has its challenges. I mean, you really want to create something that is immediately recognizable as the character that everybody knows and loves, but at the same time you want it to be immediately recognizable as different and new. I mean, you see this all the time in films that are adapting video games or cartoons, and like you see it in the Marvel universe. They're taking comic book characters that have previously only been on paper, and they have to bring them into the real world. So you have to kind of create a costume that fits in with this new universe you've created. So for the cosplay community, it's very similar to that, in that you're taking characters that are well known, that everybody knows, but you're putting a spin on it so that they're not just one of the same hundreds of other people at the convention cosplaying the same character.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of the appeal that people have seen in what I do, is that gives them an opportunity to stand out a little bit.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So,
freaking cool.
It's a fine line to walk between familiarity and uniqueness.
Yeah, actually, one of our first questions here from Wayne says, I guess it's kind of a general question, but he says, how do you go about making it your own while staying true to the source material? I'm curious how much, do you practice on a design, like pull some ideas from the original to like get started, or do you just like throw stuff on paper and see what sticks?
Well, it depends on the design. It depends on the character that I'm working with. Some of them immediately in my head, it just pops in there, and I'm like, oh, no, I know exactly what I'm doing with this. And I get really excited about it. Others, I'll be getting pulled in a bunch of different ideas, a bunch of different directions with the ideas. So I'll actually do a bunch of iteration sketches where, it's 4 different versions of the same, design, with slight variations in color and shape and silhouette. I did this for Jessica Nigri's Deathwing, because we were pulling from a lot of different things. We were pulling from some of the original concept art from World of Warcraft, and then some of the other characters in World of Warcraft, but also like just certain ideas that she had and certain ideas that I had. So we ended up coming up with like 4 or 5 different ideas to what we could do with it. And we kind of just, picked and chose which pieces of it that we liked best and kind of combined them all into the final product. And I think that, you have to consider things like color palette and, a silhouette and kind of recurring themes. If your character that you're trying to redesign is very well known for a particular color palette, like Superman with, red, yellow, and blue, it's the primary colors, it would behoove you to incorporate those colors somewhere in the design, which, I mean, part of the reason I dislike the Batman versus Superman version, the Man of Steel version of the Superman costume, is that it's so muted.
Yeah.
That it's like, nothing about that feels like Superman to me.
I was going to say, even when they were doing like the Return of Superman, like a lot of the newer returns to those older characters, if people change the color, if they change the color too much, people will be upset. Like, that's not the Superman I grew up with.
Right. Well, I mean, that kind of goes with the whole thing I was talking about with familiarity. You have to figure out exactly what it is about the design that makes it familiar and instantly recognizable. I mean, the designers, I keep looking, and I'll keep pointing back to the designers for the costumes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because they've just hit it out of the park with every new character that they have to design. The decision to go with the wings on Cap's helmet just being kind of a little relief piece, rather than like actually coming off. I mean, it's brilliant because they're still there. Yeah. But it looks more functional and more utilitarian.
It doesn't look really stupid.
Right. And I mean, when Jack Kirby originally designed the character, he needed those there because he needed a way that you could identify Captain America if it was just a black silhouette.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have something that tags every character in silhouette. Because without those, Captain America's just kind of a...
just a buff dude.
Plain buff dude, like, with a round shield. You're like, okay. But with the wings, immediately, you're like, oh, that's Captain America. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
So, you know, it's like I said, it's a little bit about finding a balance and really picking those little elements that make it familiar. Mm-hmm. Keeping those.
Very cool. Before we dive into more questions, I've done a little design work myself on a fun little project. I got this RC car. You guys can see it because I'm a 12-year-old. But I just got an RC car, but I'm redesigning the body on it.
Yes.
So I did some drawings, Zach. I mean,
nice. What did you do?
That's
nice.
I took the reference photos and then I just drew on top of them.
That's the way to do it sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
The main reason for that is this car has little pegs that the body rests on, so my design needs to functionally fit on there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I've been noodling away at this for the last couple of days, and I'm building my own Mad Max car to go on here, and it's not any of the specific cars from the movie. It's my own design, but I built a little body shell, little vacuum form body shell for it.
Yeah.
And I've been 3D printing little pieces, so it's got a little rack that goes on the back of it there.
That's great.
And it's got tiny little gas cans that I 3D printed that are going to go on the back.
Next time we hang out, I need to drive this thing.
Oh, that's that is happening. I built this. This is what I stayed up way too late last night working on. It's like a window shade or louvers for that part right there. Yeah. Because the windows have to be obscured, otherwise you'll see the electronics in there. But I still want it to look like maybe a dude can see out of there. So
yeah,
that's been my little trip down. I'm a designer lane, making my own little RC car. So look forward to this coming out. Actually, I'll have some articles on tested.com detailing that build, but I'll have some pictures up. It's going to be done soon. That's like my primary focus right now. Like as soon as this stream ends, I'm going to be back to sanding little pieces of styrene.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
It needs more spikes.
Oh, it's covered in spikes and just dudes on it swinging around. It'd be great to have a thing that could launch a little action figure. Just, witness.
Yes. Make that work.
Maybe on the Mark II. We'll see.
Yes. All right.
Cool. Well, that's what you've been up to. That's what I've been up to. Are you ready to dive into some questions?
Sure. Hit me.
Bainey has a question about blueprinting weapons from World of Warcraft. Having a hard time figuring out what size or what scale to use. What Bainey wants to know is, do you have stock sizes for one-handed or two-handed weapons, or how do you figure that out?
I know how you figure it out. Mm-hmm. When I'm designing it, I'll actually, if it's a completely new weapon that I've created, to give somebody an idea of what the scale should be, I'll actually do kind of just a nice orthographic view of it next to whatever costume or character to show the scale. So, if it's a two-handed mace and it should extend from the ground up to their shoulders, then you scale it down to be exactly what you want, and then you can measure it out when you're crafting it on paper and draw it out to be the exact size that you need. Obviously, you do that with weaponry and stuff like that, scaling everything. But from a design standpoint, you just kind of eyeball what looks good.
Yeah.
Like if you're creating something new and you want a nice, hefty one-handed sword that looks like it might be used as a two-handed sword sometimes, then you can kind of scale it up a little bit if you want to. It really just boils down to what you're comfortable with.
I always err on the side of making something a little too big, generally.
Yes.
Real quick in the chat, Phoenix Survival wanted to know didn't I make some little pieces of wood? I did for my car once again. These are popsicle sticks that I laser cut to be tiny. It's going to cover one of the windows.
Yes.
So I had to laser cut a little extra wood grain in there.
That's brilliant.
I just love making tiny things. Okay.
You built doll houses in your spare time, don't you?
Basically it.
Don't lie.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Anyway, back to the thing. That was Baney. Yeah, I wanted to point out. Basically, my basic way is I have this picture of my hand holding a real-sized gun next to a ruler, and I dump that into Photoshop, and then I lay the reference pictures over that, so that I can scale them so that they look like they'll fit right in my hand. And I'll do the same thing with a full-body picture of myself, and I'll lay pictures in Photoshop next to me, so I know that it will look appropriately sized to my body.
Oh, and also, to be more specific to the question, when you're doing things for World of Warcraft in specific, there's a really neat tool on wowhead.com where you can actually look up the weapon that you want to craft, and it will actually show you the 3D model, and you can have it, I think, equipped to a character. So you'll get a sense of actually exactly how big it is.
That's right.
And you can rotate it and look at it from different angles, whatever you need.
Yeah, any of the items in World of Warcraft you can do. I did the same thing when I built the Barman Shanker, which is the broken bottle. I was looking for it.
You didn't just smash a bottle?
No, I didn't want to bring that to BlizzCon. I think I had that, but I gave it to a friend because he was borrowing that costume. But yeah, I went to Wowhead and I took screenshots of the lowest polygon bottle ever made by man, but I could scale it and everything that way. Yeah, so Wowhead, we'll put a link to that in the show notes. I dumped a link to the my article on scaling weapons as well. I dumped that in the chat, and we'll put it in the show notes as well. Cool, good question, Baney. Good question. Next one, Iron Mark Props. Do you have let's see, concept art, yours, or something that you like from someone else that you would personally like to see someone build? So do you have any project? I mean, other than Captain America or Captain Planet.
Captain Planet.
I keep saying Captain Planet.
Well, I mean, I'm constantly seeing new concept art from people. I'm part of this Facebook group called 10,000 Hours, and it's really neat. It's a lot of industry professionals and artists that are constantly putting their work on there and asking for critique and help. And there's so much mind-blowing concept art on there. But to top it off, my older brother Ben is he's a comic book artist, and he is working on a book right now with Kurt Busiek that maybe some of you have heard of, called Tooth and Claw. Well, it was called Tooth and Claw. It's called Autumnlands now.
Okay.
And there's all of these kind of anthropomorphic creatures in these really elaborate costumes, and every page is just this amazing tapestry, and it's like Ben. He is an incredible comic book artist, but he's also an just incredible designer and illustrator, and this book has really allowed him to kind of flex his chops. It's his birthday, by the way, too. I gotta go say hi. I gotta go tell him happy birthday. But the stuff that's in Autumnlands, if anybody were to cosplay that, I would be blown away, and I know he would too. I've asked him a couple times. I'm like, hey, can I do a version of this costume or that costume? Can I just draw it in even more excruciating detail? And he's like, yeah, I'd love to see that. I just don't end up having time to do it, but I'd love to see somebody do a take on what they like from his work too. But as far as my own work, I mean, pretty much everything I create is already being made or has been made, except for Captain Planet. I think that's the only thing that I've done that hasn't been made or isn't currently being made. Because it wasn't commissioned by anybody. It was just my random Starbucks doodle. But,
yeah.
I feel like we're pushing that really hard.
hey, we got 50 people in the chat. One of you is gonna commit. Come on. I'll tell you what, I've seen some stuff too that's just been super cool. My buddy Dan has a thing for ninjas, and he did a couple, I think, of costumes that are. He saw artwork that someone did of Sub-Zero. Just some artist did his own version of Sub-Zero, and he's like, I want to make that. So he ran off and made his own costume of it. Who else? My buddy Dave Carpenter is doing this. I think it's this like a samurai version of a stormtrooper that looks amazing. Cool. Like there's someone made figures of these things, like reimagined stormtroopers, and he's like, right. That's the stormtrooper I want to do. And I look at it and I'm like, that looks really cool.
Oh yeah, I mean the number of ideas I have floating around in my head that I would love to just put out into the world, and like just be like, this isn't for anybody in particular, so go ahead and have at it. I would love to, like, it's a time thing. It's like, I just don't have as much time, because a lot of the time I have to fill with doing commission work and various projects that I get pulled in on. And, I guess that's what, like, I'm hoping eventually Patreon allows me to do is the more that the Patreon is able to kind of take the financial pressure off of me, with people supporting what I do, the more of it I can do, and the more of it I can do just for the hell of it, rather than like for very specific reasons or for specific projects. So
Solo Roboto in the chat there, our buddy Steven Meisner says, he says he would rock the hell out of that planet. Well, I'll tell you what, let's take this offline and see if we can start a get Steven to rock the planet fund.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, Steven would be perfect for that, I think.
Yes,
so I think so too. We'll have to see if we can make that happen. And Bio Cosplay is pointing out that there was the Bandai movie realization Star Wars action figures. That's the and Bio Cosplay is our buddy Sam. He would absolutely know which one that is, because he's into action figures. So I got a picture of that. That's a samurai one. I think the one that Dave is doing is a different one. I can't remember exactly. I can't keep all these things straight. All right. Good question from Iron Mark Props. This one looks like it's for me. Wade wants to know, he got a belt sander. He wants to know what grit would be best for removing texture and making blade bevels and foam. Unless you have some belt sander knowledge you want to share. I think
I know sandpaper, but not belt sander.
Most belt sanders come with like 80 grit, which is a pretty low coarse one. If you're trying to remove the texture on floor mats, then that's a good one to go with, like 80 grit. But sometimes, I mean, you can keep different belts around. You can swap belts out like at a moment's notice. So get an 80 grit, get a 200 grit, swap them out for when you need them for different purposes. Or there you go. Easy question. Lady Longshanks added a question to the thing. She wants to know, is that a cat behind Zach?
It is two cats.
Yeah.
One of them is very carefully camouflaged as a pillow. But yes, there are two cats. That's Sophia and Frostmourne.
Frostmourne. That's pretty great.
I actually had people on my Facebook page help me name them when I picked them up. So that was the one I liked the most.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How would I start? We were gonna we have the two cats now, Ender and Willow, but I think any more pets, we've agreed, any more pets we get are going to be named after Molten Core bosses.
Nice.
So Lucifron and Baron Geddon would be a good one.
Golmag. Golmag the Incinerator.
Yep. Or Magmadar would be a really good name for a dog. Just saying.
Yeah, it would be a really great name for a dog, sure.
And then the real weird dog will name Major Domo Executus. Okay. There you go, Britt. Yes, there's cats. Oh, speaking of Sam, he had a question. He says, do you plan on doing any Overwatch art? If so, are there any specific characters that tickle your fancy?
Oh, man. Well, I've already done... I did an illustration of Reaper last year to enter into the BlizzCon art contest.
Ooh.
You can find that on my Facebook page. I think it might even be my my header image. I don't know. Maybe not. I change it quite often.
I'll take a look.
It's a picture of him in mid Death Blossom. But I love Overwatch. Maybe a little bit too much. I don't think there's anybody who can casually like that game.
Right.
But I would love to. The BlizzCon art contest is coming up again. I want to get something out there for that. In terms of actual costume design, I have so many ideas for like custom skins for characters and like a bunch of like actual like character ideas myself. It's all in my head, and like I said, if I can find time to get them out there, I would love to. But as of right now, they're going to be locked away in my head for a while. But yeah, I've had so many just epiphanies of like how to mash up like Overwatch characters with Diablo characters, or how to mash up Overwatch characters with Warcraft characters, or how to mash them up with like Marvel characters, or completely redesign them to be something new. There's so many different things that like pass through, just and, like they're gone, like, and then they'll come back like days later and be like, oh yeah, I was gonna do that. Like I said, the more time I have to sketch, the more likely that kind of stuff will happen. But at the moment, all of my time is tied up, so it sucks. But yeah.
That is how it goes. Not enough time to get all the ideas out of your head.
You know, it's a good problem to have. Being busy is always a good problem to have.
Yeah, I've got a list. It's when you make stuff on YouTube, when you build things, it's common for people to then in the comments make recommendations for other things for you to make. And I want to be like, guys, I have so many things I want to make. I'm stuck building this little thing because my brain demanded that I build a little Mad Max car.
Sometimes you just gotta let go. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta sit down and draw Captain Planet.
Yep. This next one's a good one. I'll have to find the video, but Jared was curious about he's making a Skyrim helmet, curious about making horns like the one in your Deathwing costume. Now, Jessica, who made the costume, she did a video, didn't she?
I think she did. I don't know if she directly addressed the horns.
Right.
But, as far as I know, her horns were all on one kind of singular headpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Like a crown, like a headband type thing that went on over top the wig, and she kind of like fluffed the wig up around it to make it fit right. But she definitely did take a lot of time to get those horns to look right.
Whoops.
She might have a tutorial about those if you check out her page. But yeah, I think that's pretty much how you would do it, is just to have some sort of headpiece or something that you can mount if you're not going to do full-on prosthetics.
I found the video. I just posted it in the chat. We'll post it in the show notes as well. Her video on how she did most of that costume. I will say for our Skyrim costumes, Brittany did the horns on those, and those would be similar. The center part was made out of expanded foam, and then she wrapped Worbla, of all things. Guys are going to be surprised to hear we used Worbla in this house. Wrapped Worbla around it in layers to make that sort of ribbed horn looking thing. So we also have that. We have a build write up on punishprops.com and how we did that. So we will link that in the show notes as well. So those are a couple of good resources for you. Draugr, Draugr, Draugr. And no matter how many times I type that word, my computer still tries to autocorrect it. So we'll link to both of those there. I'll dump that one in the chat as well. There you go, guys. Some goodness for your faces. Good luck on that build there, Jared. All right, let's grab... We have time for a few more here. Michelle wants to know. I want to make a headpiece, like a crown or a tiara. And you want to make gems for it. Any tips on head-shaped pieces that aren't too thick? How to make gems. So I haven't done very much gem making, but I know someone who has.
I mean, there's so many different ways I've seen them done. Resin is it's a pretty good way to do it. Now they have the transparent Worbla that seems to work okay for that too.
Mm-hmm. I tend to go, if I can find gems that are already made, I'll just buy them. That if it's close to what I need. RocketManProps, one of the guys in our chats, does gems. So a couple of things. If you go to his Etsy store, there's a crap ton of awesome gems there. And if you find what you need, just buy it because it's already done. Hooray! If not, then you can ask him how he makes his gems. I believe he molds and casts them in a resin. It's probably an epoxy resin that's tinted. So there's 2 good ways to do gems. Yeah. There we go. That was Michielba. Good luck. Oh, tips on head-shaped pieces that aren't too thick. So if you're worried about making a headpiece that's like too heavy, Worbla is pretty good for that. You can form it. I wouldn't put it on hot Worbla on your face, but you can form it kind of to your head if you have maybe like a hoodie on or something, so you don't burn your face. But Worbla is pretty good for that. Or you can follow Evil Ted's foam helmet tutorial, which is another good one. All right, this is a good one. D Creations. We kind of got over this a little bit, but he wants to know, how do you determine which personal projects from you get to do from your huge wish list?
Oh man. Well, I mean, sometimes my personal projects end up becoming something that I collaborate with people on. Because I'll have a conversation with somebody like Bill, or more recently, actually, Jesse Loggers over at Midnight Armory. We were talking about something, and he saw a little drawing I did a while back, and he's like, "Can you get me the whole thing so that I can craft this?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So sometimes, like, I'll have an idea and it'll just kind of escape when I'm having a conversation with somebody, and they'll be like, "I am totally into doing that. Let's do that." And then it just ends up getting made.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of how the projects that I've worked on with like Jessica Nigri and some other cosplayers like Kamui Cosplay, like, we'll just kind of be brainstorming things that we both like. And they'll be like, "Well, I'm down to craft, if you're down to design," and we just kind of come up with something. But, aside from all of that, it really is just kind of like on a whim. Like, sometimes you'll just get an idea stuck in your head that you love so much that you just can't get it out. And you cannot rest. It's just rolling around in there, and you can't fall asleep until you get up and you're like, "Okay, I need to sketch this out at least a little bit."
Yeah.
I have a folder on my computer that is just filled with like really super rough sketch ideas of stuff that was rolling around in my head at 2 a.m. and I had to get up and draw before I could get any sleep. And every now and then I'll go in there and be like, "Oh yeah, maybe I should flesh that out a little bit more." And then sometimes I'll go in there and go, what crazy like NyQuil induced like haze was I in when I decided to draw this? Like, delete.
Yeah. I know that's similar for me. Like, sometimes there's a thing I can't not make, and if I have a spare moment, then I'm devoting that entire moment to that project. That's kind of like the Mr. Handy build that I did a while back. That was just this passion project of mine. I was just like, I need to build the tiny robot. It has to happen. And whenever my schedule cleared up a little bit, I kept returning to that project. That was the thing I wanted to get done. This car thing has been on my mind for months now, and I finally had a spare moment. I finished up a commission, my secret commission last week. Finished that up and immediately ran off and modeled this thing and printed it. In fact, the car body I 3D printed, and it had to be printed in 2 parts. So I kicked off the first part and I went to bed. And then I woke up at 4 a.m. for no reason, thinking, oh, the first part's probably done. I could run down to the shop, take that piece off, and kick off the next part of the print, and then it'll be done when I wake up. And I laid there thinking, yeah, but that would make you a crazy person. But then I thought, well, if I don't do that, then I can't fall back asleep. So I did it.
There's a very fine line between insanity and genius, Bill.
Yeah. So that's what I did. I ran downstairs to the shop and I swapped out the print, and when I woke up, the whole thing was done. And the next day, I spent the entire next day refining the body shape on that. So it's whatever project you can't not do. For me right now, that's this thing, this silly little car. Just giggling. The other day, I was just 3D printing. I would model it on my computer and then print a piece. And then while that was printing, I modeled the next piece. And I was like, I'm Tony Stark. I'm basically Iron Man.
We just need to get you more printers.
I know. Oh, I have more than one printer on the way. Yeah. Okay. This is an interesting one. Talking about commissions from Yakuri-chan. He's curious, what price range are commissions for you, if that's something that you're willing to share?
Well, I mean, I have previously had like little design packages, and like they'll include, a single view of the design to a certain degree of polish. And then you can add on things like if you want a detail of a specific piece of the armor or the costume, or you want to add a prop or a weapon, it's just extra. But I mean, in the previous year, for 2016, the low-end package started at $300, and it went up as high as I think $800 just for the secondary package, which is like full digital painting, concept art, like the kind of stuff you would see for a video game. Like, there's like a full digital painting. So when you see stuff like the Deathwing that I did for Jessica Nigri, that's the kind of level of attention to detail for that package. Mm-hmm. And I had to kind of limit how many of those I could take, just because they're really time consuming and intense. For 2017, I don't have any commissions open yet. I usually open them in the fall, and then I try to book up the entire year. Mm-hmm. I'm really behind on 2016 right now. I feel really bad about it. I'm like trying to keep in contact with everybody that I have commissions with and let them know what's going on. And it's just because I keep getting like stuff coming from the sides at me that like I can't turn down just because it's leading me closer to like my dream job. Yeah. Like Blizzard coming to me and going, hey, we would like you to do this thing for us freelance. And I'm like, yeah, okay, anything you need. And like my girlfriend was even like, well, how much are you getting paid for that? I'm like, I don't know. I don't. Like for weeks I had no idea how much I was going to get paid for this freelance gig I'm doing for Blizzard, but I didn't care. Yeah. I'm like, well, what does it matter? Like I would almost do it for free.
I am right there with you. I've been in that boat for about 2 years now, where I've booked a bunch of commissions, and the people that commission me are very awesome people and very patient. And yes. I think I have one or two of those left. But opportunities kept coming up where I was like, oh, I want to build a giant space gun for the guys at Tested. Yes, that's happening. Like I couldn't not say yes to that. It was just they dangled a fruit that was too tasty.
Right. And then like the leggings stuff that I've been doing with Wild Bangarang, doing the official, licensed World of Warcraft leggings, like that's time consuming. And, and I feel bad because like these people who commissioned me for these designs, like they're seeing all of these new designs coming out. And like, I hope they realize that like these were underway like a long time ago. So it's not like I'm shuffling stuff in front of their designs so much as it is just like, well, this is stuff that I couldn't show anybody for like 14 months. Yeah. And now it's suddenly being released, and it makes it look like I'm kind of, reshuffling things. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, that's just been in the hopper for a long time.
What that's done for me too is made me incredibly picky about the work that I pick up now going forward.
Yes.
So that's why, I mean, our commissions on our webpage haven't been like formally open for like 2 years, just because I had a pile of work that I had to get done, and also I've just been incredibly picky about what I say yes to, because I know something else is going to come up, and also I'm in a pretty good position where I can afford to not constantly keep the commission hopper full. Like I'm at a point where if I needed commissions tomorrow, I have a pretty good chance that if I opened them up, they'd fill up right away. So it's just a good position to be in.
Right.
I'm not bragging.
No.
I am a little bit.
I get it. I understand entirely. Like I'm getting messages daily from people going, oh, how much commissions, or is your commission list open? And I'm like, I wish I could tell you that I could just take it all, but I'm already killing myself. Like I just can't. I can't do any more until I get all these other things off my plate. But yeah, I mean, eventually there will be more time, and that's part of the reason that everybody I work with that commissions me, I say, I can keep the design secret if you like, until you've built it and you've worn it at a convention, and then, but once you've built it, once you've had the opportunity to build it, it gets released out into the public so that anybody can do the same thing. And that's kind of just that's the caveat to commissioning me, is that you don't exclusively own the design after you've built it. Like, you are the first one to get it, and I will design it to your specifications and exactly how you want it. But once you've had the opportunity to build it, it's just out there now, and like other people get an opportunity to build it as well. And I think everybody kind of understands that, and they enjoy it. I haven't had any sort of like negative backlash from anybody going, "Oh, it's my design." It's like, well, no, I haven't had that. So I don't know if it's just that the people that commission me are really nice and understanding, or they just kind of understand how I operate at this point. But
I think you just work with really great people. I think that's really what it boils down to.
I think it is. I think I just don't. I see it in my Facebook page too. Like, I get very little negativity. I have, like, in the 3 or 4 years that I've been doing this now, both illustration, comics, and now this, I think I've only had to like ban one person, and it's just because they got hacked and they were spamming. Like, I haven't had anybody be terrible trolls or mean. I guess I'm just fortunate in that way. Or I just project that I don't put up with that kind of stuff. But but I guess in that way, people get to really see these new designs coming out. And so even if you can't afford to commission me, or you have an idea but my commission list is closed, you never know what might all of a sudden appear on my page. You'll be like, oh wow, well, I was going to ask for something similar to that. I can just make this.
I was going to ask for a reimagined Captain Planet, and it's already done.
There it is. Captain Planet 2016.
A handful of people in the chat are curious, and I know you posted about this a few days ago, but curious about whether or not you might do some live streaming on Twitch.
Oh man, I really want to. I've tried like a handful of times now. I am a victim of the place in which I live. I'm in a studio apartment, and I do my best to make it nice and cozy, but the building that I'm in, they are locked into only having one internet service provider, and that internet service provider is CenturyLink. Now, CenturyLink, they advertise that they'll have all this like crazy upload speeds for $29.99 a month. And I'm like, that's sweet. Let me check it out. And then in the fine print, it's may not be available in all areas. So you go online and you say, oh, I would love that, and then you click on it, and it's like, nope, sorry, not available. And like, I'm like, all right, well, can I at least upgrade what I currently have? Nope.
Oh.
So I am bound to only have an upload speed of like 896 kilobytes per second.
That's not enough.
Which is not good for streaming. I've tried it a dozen times, and I'm like, I've tried OBS, I've tried XSplit, and I've tried this new Infiniscene thing, and they're really great, but as soon as I try to broadcast, I'm dropping more frames than I can put up. So until I get into a better apartment, or I get a better machine, or something's got to give. Unfortunately, I'm probably not going to be able to do much live streaming of what I do when I'm working. I might try to just do like a screen capture video of what I'm doing as I'm working, and then maybe kind of just narrate it a little bit. But in terms of like interaction and being able to answer questions live, this is about as close as I'll be able to get for a while. So. All
right. Well, let's hope that the CenturyLink gods smile upon you someday. Let's grab one more here from the Beeve for Zach. He's curious, what brands do you prefer for pencils when you do things on paper? Do you have favorite pencils?
Pencils?
Yeah.
Well, oddly enough, when I work in pencil, when I work analog, I use a non-photo blue pencil, which is like a light. I guess this is just a remnant of the work that I did in comics. Like a non-photo blue pencil. You can pick them up at most art stores to do all of my layout and kind of rough design. And then I'll go in with like a zebra mechanical pencil, like 0.5 sized lead, and I'll use like an F lead or something like that. Either that, or I like to use the Staedtler lead holders, like the drafting pencils.
Yeah.
And those things are amazing as well. And I just like to use like F lead or like HB. You pretty standard middle of the road lead, just so that you can have a little bit of range with it. But oftentimes I go pretty quick straight from pencils into ink, just because for whatever reason, I'm more comfortable with ink than I am with pencil shading.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where that happened. I guess it's just the part of me that likes digital painting, where I'm able to quickly determine what colors I want. So I'll just start going in with my Copic markers or, whatever I'm coloring it with pretty quickly right after the pencil sketch is down. But yeah, I mean, really just, use whatever you're comfortable with. Try different brands. Use whatever, speaks to your own sensibilities.
There you go. I like, when I'm sketching out stuff, I like thinner. I did a lot of just like architectural and mechanical drafting growing up. So I like harder, thinner leads. So I've got like a 0.5 mechanical pencil, and I got 4H lead for that. It's like writing with a shard of rock. It's super hard lead, but it means the lines are very thin and very light, because I'm a sketcher when I draw. So I'm putting down many, many, many lines. So the lighter it is, the better it is, because then it doesn't cover the page in lead.
Whoop. Hold on a second.
Throwing stuff.
Unplug myself here. Okay, this is my my art kit that I carry with me when I work. So,
ooh,
you've got a bunch of Copic multiliners here in different sizes and thicknesses. Some Micron pens down at the bottom here. These, I swear by these, and this is just the inker part of me coming through. These are like a pen-tailed pocket brush.
Oh, very nice.
And they're refillable, and they have this beautiful like brush tip to them.
Oh, very nice.
That I use to lay down really, really kind of fun lines with that. But like these are the non-photo blue pencils here. I don't know if you can see those. And then I've got like my mechanicals, and then the lead holder here, drafting pencil. So that's my kit.
There you go.
Bunch of different things there.
Cool.
You just got to build up, what you personally like.
Cool. Well, I think that is a good place as any to end it. Thank you, everyone who submitted questions today. You guys are super awesome. Of course, thanks, Zach, for hanging out with us.
Thank you, Bill, for having me.
Yeah.
And thank you, everybody, for the awesome questions.
Yeah, these guys are great. I'm going to have to find a reason to head back down to Portland. I haven't been down there.
Please do.
Yeah, since...
we can talk about things.
We have things we can talk about that are going to be awesome. Yes. I'll bring my toy car. We'll play.
Yes. Yes.
As always, everybody, we do Prop Live every week. We'll be doing it again next week. But thank you so much for hanging out with us. Head on over to Facebook, look up Zach Fischer Illustrations, or head on over to Patreon and look up Zack Fisher over there. Check out what he's working on. Support his work, because this man is awesome. And I guess until next week, thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all on the next Prop Live.
Yay! Thanks, guys.